Hello, everyone. I'm Renee Baribeau, and welcome to the Shaman's Cave.
Hi everyone, I'm Sandra Ingerman and welcome to the Shaman's Cave.
Well, today we have a topic. We've probably talked about this a little bit and over the times, but we're finding that things are so changeable and moving so fast. And everyone really related to our recent talk on distractions that this is not about distractions, but it's in the same kind of vein. But these are about the distractions that you really have no control over and things that just change on a dime. And how attached are you to your plans and the way you think that things should be, that you get caught up in the frustration around not being able to get what you want instead of to be able to go with the flow.
You said that very well, Renee.
That was a marble mouthful.
Yeah, so we've done quite a number of shows on flow before and being in the flow, and we've done exercises on when you're out of the flow, how do you get back into the flow? But I think that people even misunderstand even just a flowing river. I think that many of us kind of feel like, well, we're in the flow, we're out of the flow. How do we get back in the flow again? And I know I've been working on that, and I hear that from other people. No, I'm having a bad day. I'm out of the flow today. But when you look at a river, and I remember when I used to rivers are really important to me, and so most of my journeys are paddling down a river with my guardian spirit. And one of the great lessons over the years of journeying is how much a river changes. So it doesn't even matter if you're in the flow of the river. There's going to be times when it's such a turbulent ride, you're being thrown all over the place, and then all of a sudden the river smooths out. So the point is how flexible can we be about our attachment to being in the flow?
Or how much can you enjoy that ride? When you were talking, I remembered the time that we went up to the American River and went whitewatering, and you're holding on and you're holding on, but you're holding on tight, but you have to also be able to move with the boat, or if you hold on too tight, then you get tossed overboard in there. So there's a degree of how tight you hold and how loose you let it go. And I think that we have to be that way too. Like that, I have a set of ideas of, okay, in January, I want this wind is going to help me guide me through these storms, but I don't know what they are yet. And so how do I move and bend and adjust to that as I go so that I don't get tossed overboard?
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that's one of the keys is how balanced can we stay. And when we look at balance, just when we look at balance as we walk in the world, a lot of you probably know about Feldenkrais. It's a body work practice that teaches you different movements to be able to be more flexible and be in the flow. And the thing about Feldenkrais is that the actual theory behind it is that you should be able to move smoothly from any position that you're in without a transition. You should be able to move from any position you're stuck in without a transition. And Moshe Feldenkrais, he developed over 10,000 exercises, and he developed them by observing people move. And and that's an amazing thing to think about, that his whole theory behind his 10,000 exercises is that you should be able to move, change position from any direction, doesn't matter where it is, without losing a step without losing balance, without losing your flow in any way possible. And that's a real metaphor for where we are right now, is that things are changing so rapidly. How are we moving in balance, or how much do we get thrown off balance by we're asked to make a change and we go, what? And we lose our balance instead of we pivot. We're asked to make a change and we pivot and we make that change, and we stay in the flow. And that takes a lot of practice. But again, as we did the show on distraction, it takes an amazing amount of concentration to be able to pivot out of any position that the universe puts you in.
Absolutely. When you were speaking about Feldenkrais, I started to laugh because yesterday the front gate was open and I saw Sami going for the front gate. And I don't really like her to go out front, especially before an open house. So I pivoted and I fell. And I actually scraped my knee. And it was because, and I'm going to blame it on my transition glasses, because I was looking out and then I looked down and I tripped over the light, which, so I guess I wasn't definitely in my flow right then, but I did get the gate closed before she snuck out. So I had to scrape off the knee later. But it is true. Like, the other part of it for me is that sometimes I always think I know what I want, and what I want, and not like, what spirit wants. Like, I got this message that it was time to maybe sell the house in the desert and leave, right? So in my world, that meant, okay, well, let's just get this listed and get moving on. And yet I found out, as it's taken a minute to get offers and for people to look, that I really need to be settled here to be writing. Like that, like, if I always go on my schedule or what I want and what I need, it's not necessarily spirit schedule, because then when I slow down long enough to stay in that flow, like, things that I can't even imagine coming up do, like, that all of a sudden I have to go east. But there happened to be a writing retreat the weekend before I was going to be east that worked out for me to go to. But had I been organizing it my way, within an inch of my life, the way that I saw that, I'm like, oh, I've got to do this family obligation and the responsibility. But when I got out of my own way around it, time opened up on both sides of it, so that I really feel like I'm going to get a vacation, which I don't know about most of you, but a lot of spiritual workers got called into action during COVID. And I'm one of those. And so I haven't really had a vacation, per se, since the beginning of COVID. It was the busiest time in my whole life. While other people were shut down and relaxing, went into overdrive. And Sandra, I know you were with me with that, because we were online, we were teaching, people needed our help, and we didn't stop. So now it's our time to be a little bit different in the flow. And we've spread out our shows a couple of weeks, and the flow is revealing itself with a new river turn.
That's right. And you never know, like, just look at nature and look at today. Renee and I started our a little bit later than we normally do, but the weather was beautiful and the lighting in my office was incredible. I was saying to myself, God, I haven't seen my office look this beautiful and bright in a really long time. And then suddenly, as Renee and I are talking, a storm came in and my screen almost turned black. The light was gone. I put on the best light that I can right now. But, I like to speak in metaphor a lot. And this is kind of where life is right now. It's the light was bright this morning. It was absolutely beautiful. The light flooding into my office, and my color looked incredible. And then all of a sudden it was just gone. And it can't be attached, and you can't be attached. And that was one of the things that Renee and I kind of started, how we got to even talking about this conversation, was we were looking at, what are you attached to? And And so when we're looking at having to make those pivots, we really do need to look at how much are we attached to. There's a part of being rooted that helps with how much things are changing, because there are things that we're attached to that actually provide a really healthy anchor in our lives. But we also have to look at where are those unhealthy anchors where we're holding on so tightly that the universe just comes and washes us away in a flood. And
Mhm.
because everything about life right now is learning about letting go.
Mhm. Especially if you, every time there's a windstorm lately, everyone says, "Oh, Renee's here." Like they're like blaming. All of a sudden, I become the messenger of the wind, and when there's a windstorm, I must have struck up a chord. Like last week, the wind blew so hard, a palm tree blew over in my friend's yard. Renee, were you out there traveling last night? So it's a little no, I don't manage and control the wind. I cooperate with the wind. And the winds of change are blowing for us all, and we do need to, there's nothing like learning to study the tree to see how the tree bends. But there was something that she learned about this palm tree and about adaptability and changeability, that the person from the city who came to look at the palm tree said you can see the years of drought wearing their way on the palm trees because they get really skinny in there, and that's where they get resistant to break. So like, are these years of these changes wearing you out? Like, do you have some places in you that are like a little bit thinner than you could, that they need to be right now? Because those are the really great places to focus your attention on. Is like, what needs care right now so that I can be my more adaptable self.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's absolutely perfect. Yeah, I think that, we all have different karma, we all have different destiny on what we want to be doing in this lifetime. But one of the things about the universe is that the universe wants us to keep flowing. And the universe wants us to keep growing and to keep evolving into greater places in ourselves. And that's part of life, is that life, that river of life is always going to carry us into these different experiences where we have to learn how to change our position, whether it's our mental position, our physical position, our spiritual position. I know that for me, having taught shamanism for 40 years, all of a sudden there's certain questions I'm bringing up to myself right now about, as I'm looking at starting to teach again. I'm looking at, wow, what was appropriate back 40 years ago or even 30 years ago for me? Is it appropriate for me to bring to a population now with what's going on the planet? So it's really interesting. Everything's changing on every single level. And we really have to look at where are we flexible and where are we going with where the river of life is taking us through the turbulence and through those beautiful flows where we can finally get the vacation that Renee is talking about.
So excited, super excited. And and for those of you at home too, like, are you creating that spaciousness in the time? One thing I've noticed, a lot of my friends now, and I've been doing it too, is that I'm planning a day off.
Mhm.
Working 7 days a week doesn't work for me anymore. So it's like I plan like a good afternoon and a whole day off. I mean, yesterday I went to a silly movie because because you can just get so caught up into everything that in order to be a little bit more adaptable, we have to get out of our routine.
Absolutely.
And that one works for me. It's like, okay, I'm going to go skiing. I haven't been skiing in a long time. I mean, I don't know where all of these things that I used to love to do got carried away and buried away because of, obligation and work. And I don't know, but I become a cranky crocodile when I don't have any room for play.
Yeah, well, and the other thing too is we don't know how long we have here. When I was still working endlessly, nonstop during the pandemic, um, but I was working endlessly nonstop before the pandemic really made no difference to me as far as work goes. As far as what happened to people on the planet, yes, it did. But as far as work goes, I was just doing what I always do. But my husband finally said to me, he said to me, "What if we only have 5 years left? What if we only have 5 years left? What would you like to do in those 5 years?" And so and that's an old exercise that's been done for a long time, but it's still something that's really quite relevant. Is to think about if you only have a certain amount of time left on the planet, do you want to be spending it on Instagram the whole entire time? That because that's mostly what I see people doing. Do you want to spend it on Facebook? Do you want to spend it working? Do you want to have some fun? Do you want to be caught in a bad job, a bad relationship, a bad whatever? If you only have a certain amount of time left, what changes in your life would you bring in so that you feel that at the end of your life, you feel that you did something good for yourself?
Hmm. I love that. I think that's a great place to stop, is to really stop here and to take that assessment for yourself and look like, and know, like, if you put 100 things on your list, if you only have 5 years, that the winds of change are blowing. So, you don't know what's going to happen and what's going to come in and what's going to change you from even being able to get to do some of those things. But it would certainly give you a great starting place for really thinking about, like, what is on that list? What are my priorities? And I'm finding that I'm writing a book right now, and I'm like, why am I writing this book? I learned from the first book, we write because we have to write. We write because we have a message to share. So I'm doing it and I'm absolutely enjoying the process. So writing seems to be a process for me of something I really want to do right now. As is skiing, as is going to a funny movie yesterday. I'd rather be filling up my life like that than doing things that aren't fun. So what is it that you want to do? Who is it that you want to meet? Courses do you want to take? And maybe you're over courses, just not ours. But we want you to subscribe to what we would like. This is our list. Subscribe to our channel and share our show. Those are our wishes for you today.
Yeah, and we really wish that you live a life where you feel gratitude for your life. And in order to live gratitude, you have to be able to embrace joy, embrace love, embrace happiness, and embrace life and engage in life. So, where are you engaging in life, and where are you not engaging in life? And again, as Renee said, it's a great place to stop. And we wish you the best in coming up with what would bring you joy so that when you leave this lifetime, you can say thank you.
Hmm. Thank you.